After a break due to pouring down rain, I finally got out here to outline these beds. So a little refresh. These beds are mounds for strawberries. I'll show you some of the strawberries. I got 20 or 30 plants. And they're gonna go out here on these mounds where they're gonna get better drainage and will get watered passively from bottom water. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. I'm over here working at the Sustainable Homestead Institute, and this demonstration bed shows a common method used in Africa and areas of China in temperate climates where there's a risk of low rainfall or getting the rain all at once. So it's going to be on the edges of deserts. It's going to be a kind of a dry temperate. And what happens here is the back channel, this is the channel, is going to help water move slowly down the slope because we're on an odd slope here. And then the walking paths work like channels to move the water across these mounds. Now these mounds are really roughed in right now. I got general spacing. They're about one single reach across. I want to show you two important points. First point is that where I'm standing is the lowest point. We want the contour of the terrace to lean slightly back. Now, as I've mentioned in other videos, eventually these two terraces will come together and this bund in the middle, which is a very shallow bund, will go away. But I don't want water to accumulate along the back of this and then channel through the center of these beds and wash over to our next bed. And so to avoid that, we almost have a keyhole garden technique, except you can walk through the keyhole up onto the back bund and it's not a big deal. So I'm walking on the access point for these beds. And you'll notice that at the end, we have a trench to catch the remaining water so that it doesn't run down what will be in the future a walking trail. We have each of the growing areas connects to the back channel, and the channel will be leveled out and smoothed out so that the water will flow down the channel. But the tops of the beds, our objective is for the tops of the beds to be level. So what I'll do when I'm smoothing out the soil is I'll lower the back, so this will get lower, and then this will get higher so that the tops of our beds are level. Now again, you'll be able to walk down these paths, and walking down these paths is how you access these keys. Now, why are the mounds in this direction? As you can see by the shadow, is that we're getting good solar aspect, but also because we're on a slope, we're slowing and spreading water instead of the risk of it channeling if these beds were long ways. So if the beds went this way, there's a risk of it channeling in the paths, because you can see how the area near the fence is higher than the area downslope in the hill. Now over time, this terrace will get larger and this terrace will get more level, but we're doing demonstrations here. It's not once and done. We're showing you how you can start with minimal resources or even resources that are not ideal, and using different techniques adopted from around the world in different cultures, all in the temperate climate, that you can start growing with what you've got. So these beds are going to have strawberries. Strawberries are perennial, and they need to be in place for 2 to 3 years in order for us to get good strawberry crowns. So we can take strawberries away with propagation, but the crown is going to stay here for as long as possible. This narrow terrace gives us the opportunity that we could put a shade cloth over it, or we could put some kind of frost cloth to protect our strawberries, but also we can just mound in straw. So there's a couple bales of straw that have come in recently. They're going to go around the strawberries and going to help us keep the soil covered so that we don't get splashes of water on the strawberries and possibly get diseases on the leaves. So I've roughed it out. You could just put your plants in here. If you were planting potatoes, sweet potatoes, if you were planting squashes or even corn, if this was your entire garden, this bed would work the way it is right now. But I am going to clean it up. I'm going to get the levels right so that if we get another heavy rain, we're not going to have a muddy mess here. And you can add wood chips to the lower paths. They'll still spread and soak water. And you also want to make it clear how do you get into this area. So I don't know if you can see it there. There's kind of a notch So we got a hill and the potential for water to run down the hill. If we need more water, we can extend that notch to catch more water coming down the hill. But if it should be fine the way it is, we'll get some water to slow and spread across this back and then periodically cut into the different growing beds. As the temperature gets hotter in our summer seasons and we have drought conditions in many areas, it is extremely valuable to be able to slow and spread that water. Now, you might be asking about soil disturbance. You may notice there's a large number of worms all over the place here. And yes, I am disturbing soil. Most of what I'm doing is just scooping up top, so you can see the worms right there. Most of what I'm doing is just scooping up the top organic matter on the soil. But because we have this Virginia clay, I am digging up some subsoil in order to mix it with our organic matter that's going to be added around the strawberries themselves. Is this ideal? Should we be disturbing soil? Well, remember, we're doing this designed for structure as much as we're doing it for water management. And the structure allows us to have better access to the growing areas. So it's almost micro terraces. And the structure also spread and soaks water, being mindful of the overall slope and the plane of the terrace itself. So can you see how this can be very valuable if you have a low water environment, if you have a garden that's away from water systems, if you want to be able to flood and irrigate, use flood irrigation, you can do all those things. If you have heavy rains, this keeps your plants that need dry roots, keeps those roots less wet, and ultimately gives you easy access. Now, could you do this with double reach beds? Yes, you could do this with double reach beds. If you're planting something else, it would mean fewer beds to dig. But ultimately, I've chosen single reach beds for the strawberries, since the strawberries are going to be a high level of cultivation, and most of these walking paths in the middle of the strawberries are going to be full of biomass of some kind, because we're really trying to get the organic matter back into the soil. So if you have any questions about this, I got one more video I'll do on this one once they get all the strawberries planted and I get the grass around it cut and the straw in place. But can you see how this type of design gets the maximum use out of an area, harvests and cultivates the soil that is of high value while distributing moisture and nutrients around the garden area? See, with strawberries, you're not going to throw manures right on the strawberries. You would throw them in the ditches and then let it soak into the ground. Or you would compost it and just top dress the beds with compost. So we want to make it easy to access, we want to make it easy to maintain, and we want it to be fully functional with the space that we have available. I'll see you in the next video. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you have questions, put them in the comments below or visit www.prosperityhomestead.org. And I'd love to introduce you to courses around my region where you can learn how to do this and get practical experience. I'll see you in the next video.